Hello, everybody. This is Fernando for the latest Godzilla movie podcast video. I'm going to go ahead and dust this series off as it's been a couple of years since I last did a video here, mainly because of some of the past issues that I've had with Toho Studios, Legendary Pictures, and Warner Brothers. Those of you that are longtime fans of my channel know exactly what I'm talking about. If you're new to the channel, check out some of my past videos on it. I've talked about it in detail there, and you'll get all the information associated with it. But much like I did a couple of years back with my review of the Godzilla vs. Kong film, I decided to go ahead and do one here involving a review of the Godzilla Minus One movie. Yes, indeed, I have seen this movie. I've seen it at least once. I may not see it again, more on that in another video, but I'm going to definitely at least give my review here, and I'm going to split it into two parts. The first part is going to be involving all the good stuff associated with the movie, all the pros, and then the second part is going to be all the bad stuff, all the cons. So that way you'll be able to see one or the other, and then see if that aligns with what your thoughts are as well. And then who knows, maybe I might just continue this series and start focusing on other reviews afterward. So without further ado, let's go ahead and let's start with this here. And this will be the good stuff, the pros associated with the Godzilla Minus One movie. So these are in no particular order. I just decided to type them up and then read them aloud here. So let's go ahead and let's talk about that here. The first very big pro that the Godzilla Minus One movie had is its story. I love the story. It was a very original take on the film. And I'm saying this because now with Godzilla and the huge franchise that it has, it's been several dozen movies, almost 70 years. Next year it celebrates 70 years. Can you believe that? And it still feels fresh. Like the franchise itself feels fresh, and this film and what it showcases is also very fresh, which is amazing, even more so considering the fact that this is now maybe the third or so reboot that the movie has had. If I'm not mistaken, there was, of course, the first original black and white film, and then there was the Godzilla 1985 film, and then there was the Shin Godzilla. There may have been one more else out there that was another reboot, but otherwise, everything is still fresh. Like nothing feels outdated, nothing feels like it's treading on similar paths, like it's, oh God, it's going through this again. No, it absolutely felt like a brand new original movie. And I think what works so well about the story is its simplicity. If you cut everything out and then just put it into one sentence, it's basically a quest, one man's quest for redemption mixed in with a little bit of revenge. And then, of course, mixed in within all that is the rest of the characters and the storylines as well. But I think that's why the story works so well, is because it's so simple. It's not like a big movie that's being set up to, like a lot of the Marvel movies where they're making things off, branching things off into other film series or other TV shows and so on. No, it's just one movie, one single quest, and this is why it works so well. And in fact, the main character, I believe his name is Shikishima, he seeks to redeem himself after originally failing at his mission. By the way, there's going to be spoilers throughout this particular video and the other one involving the con. So heavy spoiler alert, some of the stuff I'm talking about here, if you haven't seen the movie, please wait until you've seen the movie and then come back to the video. But here we go. But yes, he originally fails at his mission involving him being a kamikaze pilot, and he fails again when it comes to him taking action when the original form of Godzilla starts attacking the area/island that he's at. And so because of that, he eventually then decides that it's time for him to take action, especially afterwards when it comes to him taking revenge after the quote-unquote death of his partner, a lady that was introduced later on in the film. So again, it's a simple story. It's a man seeking redemption, seeking part revenge, all throughout the movie, it haunting him, and then finally culminating to things at the very end. And as I've once heard it said, I can't remember where it was, but it was in some other review, a common notion about Godzilla films is that everyone within the story ends up knowing each other, either from the past or later on in the present, and it's very much the same here. This is a storyline that bridges multiple years together into one place, and then eventually it pays off into one final mission, and it pays off very well, very tremendously towards the end. You're kind of almost, you can't help but cheer when it comes to what the final battle with Godzilla entails. And then what I like about the story as well, it is not too short and it's not too long. So it's not like the current epics that a lot of the Hollywood films are out there. I don't mind 3 hour films per se, but they have to be there. Like, they have to be good. If it's just scenes being fit in just to make the film seemingly longer, that's not going to work. Same thing with a movie being cut too short. Like, if there's other scenes that could be added that could at least flesh things out even further, then why weren't they in the first place? This was just over 2 hours, and I thought it was 2 hours just enough. There may have been just a few more parts that needed to be trimmed here and there. More on that afterwards when it comes to the cons in my next video. But otherwise, the 2 hours flew by fast enough because everything paid off very, very well. And the story still had another set of original takes. For example, with Godzilla's atomic breath. His atomic breath was literally an atomic bomb. Like, that was something that was remarkable to see the very first time. By the way, I saw this in a Regal Theater, which was in 4D. This was the first time I was ever trying that out, and it's, if you don't know what 4D is, you haven't tried it out, it's kind of like a roller coaster seat. You sit on it and it shakes and it moves, and then there's also a water contraption in front of you that spits out water, I guess, based on the scene that you're looking at. So if it's raining, it starts sprinkling water on you, or if there's a scene involving, like lots of scenes in this film involving out in the ocean, then yeah, you get water on you as well. And then it also spritzes scents, like actual mixing of scents, like whether it could be something involving a fiery scent, a rose scent, something like that. Whatever the movie entails, then that'll have it there as well. But when it came to the atomic breath, and that's when I heard it there. That's when it happened there on the 4D screen and the 4D seat. Wow, it definitely made an impact because now you had an atomic breath that essentially laid out the entire city because it turned into an atomic bomb itself. There's a scene there, in fact, too. Afterward, I'll talk about more in a minute. That ties into how Godzilla is very evil in this movie, but otherwise that atomic scene and the way that his atomic breath works, absolutely very original take. And then the other one that's very original is this, how they ended up defeating Godzilla. Again, heavy spoiler alert on this, but we've seen multiple films now where Godzilla has been defeated, and this is yet another new original angle. Like the first film, the very first black and white one, involved an oxygen destroyer. And then one of my favorite films, the Godzilla 1985 / Return of Godzilla, involved a volcano. And then in Shin Godzilla, it involved coagulants, like mixing it in his body and then basically freezing him. And here it involves sea pressure, if you could believe it. Like, it was that easy. I mean, it sounds easy, but obviously in the film, and it ended up being a very, very tumultuous event for everyone involved. But basically, it was the theme of science. Once again, science prevails above all else when it comes to the storyline. It's using science to defeat Godzilla at his own expense, almost, and then it ended up destroying him afterwards. But lo and behold, towards the end of the film, you'll see why it's going to continue things, and it'll showcase Godzilla in perhaps another new movie. So definitely one of the biggest pros was the storyline, the very original storyline altogether. Next big pro was, of course, the big man himself, Godzilla. Wow, what a force that he was here within this movie. He was definitely a force to be reckoned with. Very little is known about him before his mutation. Like, basically, you just see him at the beginning of the movie, like almost like a T-Rex, like a giant T-Rex of sorts. I don't know, like, what else happened to him before that. Was he a long-lost dinosaur? Has he been alive for millions of years? Who knows? But otherwise, that's the only thing you know of him, is just his brief scene before his mutation. But it gave you the sense that before his mutation, before he was truly attacked by people, he was just an animal, like almost to the sense that he was just mulling around by instinct. Like there was nothing vindictive about him. But after, in this case, something else happened to him involving an atomic bomb being set by either through him or something else involving those atoll islands, if I'm not mistaken. They ended up mutating him, and then that's when you could see it's almost like a blink and you miss it. You see his eyes almost turning evil because he knows that he's been attacked, and he's been attacked very, very badly, and now he's going to take it out on people. So when it comes to this in film, it is him being outright truly evil. It basically takes him back to his more evil routes, probably even more so than any of the past films. Like I thought in Godzilla 1985 / Return of Godzilla, I thought that that was him being at his worst. Like it was him almost targeting people. But here in this film, he's not only targeting humans, but he's outright stalking them. Like he's absolutely making sure that he could destroy as many people as possible. There's multiple scenes in whenever he's finally reaching land and then going through some buildings, he purposely drives his tail through those buildings. There is no accidental grayish mishmash of things like you kind of see in the legendary pictures where he's driven through buildings, but it's usually because another monster just, kicked him or just pushed him and he fell and so on. No, in this case, he is actively destroying them. There's one scene in particular where you see him punching a building multiple times. There is no excuse at that point. Like he is actively trying to hurt people as much as possible. He steps on people multiple times as well. He knows that they're in front of him. He is able to see them. It's not like his, oops, I accidentally stepped on them. No, he's actually in their path to actually do so. And then, of course, his atomic breath is the absolute worst one possible. He ignites it knowing that it'll be an atomic bomb afterward or whatever it was that he knew as far as its destructive power. And then there's a very, very powerful scene where he's staring at his own work. He sees the mushroom cloud go up in the air involving the atomic bomb and its after effects, and then he roars almost in, I guess you could call it delight or some other form of similar celebration. Like it's him knowing that he did this, knowing that he just killed who knows how many tens of thousands of people. No remorse at all. There's no more nonchalant, accidental force of nature with him. No, he's out there to be evil. He also destroys multiple ships throughout the film as well. And then at the very, very end, when he's about to light up the most gruesome version of his atomic bomb breath that he has, like his entire body is almost lit up in blue, even down to his eyes. His eyes look like they're about to just explode with the energy that he's about to release. You can just tell that this is a very, very different Godzilla, which is good. I liked that they brought him back in a way that, again, showcases his true nature. Like he is out there and he's there to destroy. And there was no holding back when it came to this movie. Next pro associated with the movie, the special effects. Truly some of the most realistic work that I have ever seen. Before this movie, for me, the bar was set with Planet of the Apes, the trilogy movie. If you've seen those recent movies, you know what I'm talking about. The apes look real. I mean, they look like they're actually there. Like there is no CGI work. It looks like it's even better than you could do with anything involving a man in a suit. It looks like there's apes that are talking and walking and moving about and riding horses and so on. This is the next best case. I mean, the special effects, my hat's off to them. I don't know how they did it, but they made Godzilla look so realistic. Probably the most prominent scene of his realism is when he's chasing that wooden boat. Like it actually looks like it's a giant monster chasing the boat. Like it looks nothing else. Doesn't look like Hollywood. It doesn't look like it was bad CGI work. It looks like somebody took a camera out there and into an area with a Godzilla and then filmed a real life Godzilla chasing a boat. Same thing whenever he was rampaging the city. Some of the work there looked even better than Shin Godzilla, which to me was the previous high associated within the Godzilla films. And when you compare the special effects to anything that Legendary has done, as you're looking at here in a side-by-side comparison, it's nowhere even close. Like the Legendary Pictures Godzilla looks almost cartoonish compared to anything involving this film and the Godzilla and the special effects that were done on it. And if you could believe this, the film was only done with $15 million. Far better work with less budget than anything else Hollywood has done today. I mean, this is truly the gold standard when it comes to special effects, especially with such a very, very limited amount. Although I heard one of the producers of the film state in an interview that he wishes that they got 15 million. He was implying that it was almost less than that. Like there was even less than the amount. He didn't say how much it was, but he's making it sound like it wasn't 15 million. There was an even lesser amount that they were working with. And if that's true, then again, my hat's off to them at how they made it look so real, even better again than a man in suit would ever look like. And yet it's not like it's blue screen work. It's stuff involving everything behind the computer, and yet it looks like Godzilla is truly alive and that he's doing all this rampage and targeting and stalking throughout the film itself. It's great, great stuff. Next pro associated with the film were the action sequences. There were just a few here and there. I was surprised at the lacks of them. More on that on the other video again involving the cons. But when the action sequences did happen, boy, did they pay off. That previous boat chase scene that I was mentioning is the absolute hallmark. Like, I don't know, you have to see it for yourself to understand. It is very, very riveting stuff. I was surprised at how riveting it was. It truly is a David versus Goliath set of characteristics there, because here you have a little teeny tiny wooden ship, and it's sent out to take on like a mystery, like what's happening to the larger boats. They come across a naval boat, a naval warship that has been utterly destroyed. They were sent out there to investigate that. Like there's even a scene where they're wondering to themselves, what are they going to do? Like, what can they do? They're just a little tiny wooden boat. And if the naval ship was taken down like that, then what chance did they have? And then there's a very powerful scene, too, involving later on with one of the characters that I'll mention more here in a minute, but it's about them pushing themselves on. But in any case, the chase starts. Godzilla showcases himself. He then starts chasing them. And then that's when one of the most riveting scenes I've seen recently played out. Basically, they go through several things all at once. They first try to destroy him with bullets. Obviously, that doesn't work. Then the mines that they've been collecting throughout the film itself, they decide to set one off on him, like on the actual skin itself. But that doesn't work either, because they realize that here you have something that is almost essentially bulletproof, even beyond that. And then finally, they through a mixture of accident and then also just last minute hope, they're able to finally get a mine within the mouth of Godzilla, and then through the last second they're able to have it go off and they defeat him, or so they thought. They just didn't realize that the Godzilla that's in this movie can actually regenerate itself almost instantaneously, just like the Hulk or Wolverine would. And so they defeated him. They actually did it. They did it. David ended up defeating Goliath, if but for the fact involving the weird science that Godzilla's made up with, and that allowed him to regenerate almost instantly. But it worked. The pacing was amazing. The editing was absolutely fantastic. It absolutely felt like you were there just throughout the entire sequence. And when you realize and you step back that all it was them probably just filming things in front of like some giant warehouse with some green screen behind them, the fact that they pulled off this amazing action sequence is great stuff. I mean, hats off again to them for what they did. Now, the next one involving the last pro associated with the movie has to do with the acting and the cinematography. I wanted to mix them both at the same time. Both of them are excellent stuff. As far as the acting, everyone truly gave their all. As I once heard, there's no small parts, only small actors. They absolutely made sure whoever it was that was in the part, even if it was just for a few minutes, they made sure that they were impactful. You remembered every single character that was within the film itself. You cared about them. You actually wanted to see what happened to them afterward. And of course, I was mentioning earlier with many of the Godzilla films, everyone knows each other and then they last throughout the film. That's what happened here as well. And it ended up being a very wonderful payoff towards the end too. So great acting all around. And I can't think of anybody that ended up just failing at that part too. And the cinematography was really, really good, just beautiful tone set to it. This was set in the 40s and it absolutely felt like it was, which is amazing again on such a small budget, because many other larger films, Hollywood films that are set in past times, they have budgets that are 10 times plus that amount, and they don't look as real as this one did when it came to the sets and what was involved with it and so on. And then it also had just a beautiful set of sepia and earthly tones throughout the film as well. If you've seen the trailers, you know what I'm talking about, because the rest of the movie is essentially like that too. Lots of brownish earthly tones throughout the film, and it makes you realize while it's still in color, it's truly set in a different time afterward. But that's pretty much it. That's all the pros associated with the film. Let me know what you guys and gals think as well. Did I miss anything else that stood out? Any other pros that you feel absolutely worked for this film? Let me know below, and please post those comments, and then I'll be working on the next one associated with the bad stuff, the cons associated with the film. All right, everybody. Thanks again as always. Take care.